Awesome, guys. Welcome to this very special interview here with Doc Steve, one of the foremost experts in the world of frequency technology. I am so thrilled to have him here today. Let me just make sure everything is working properly. Yep, we are live. There we go. All right, so Doc Steve, a quick introduction. He has over 46 years of practice in quantum, integrative, and functional medicine. Dr. Stephen Small, he is an Ivy League educated and holds 4 doctoral degrees. He is frequently referred to as the doctor to the stars in the media because of his high-profile celebrity practice in Los Angeles, where he's calling in from today, where he treats many A-list members of the film, television, and sports community. He currently serves as the Dean of the International Medical University of Natural Education, and he lectures all around the world. He is the co-author of the recently released Amazon #1 best-selling book, Wake Up, Miracles of Healing from Around the World, and has a private practice in Los Angeles where he specializes in quantum integrative medicine and as a time weaver practitioner. In 2019, Doc Steve joined the team at Healy World, where he is currently a vice president member. His life mission is to introduce frequency healing to the world via the revolutionary Healy frequency device, and his motto is self-care is the new healthcare. I love that, Doc Steve. Welcome to this channel. It's an honor to have you here. I know that you're in high demand. You are living a very busy life, and I know that I've just slipped into your very busy schedule. So thank you for being here with us today. So welcome to the channel.
Thank you, Erica, for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
It's an honor. So, I've seen this in your introduction, this term, quantum integrative medicine, and I'm wondering if we can start. I would love to learn, like, what is that?
Well, it's the term that actually came to me when there's a new book out that was written called Quantum Integrative Medicine, and I realized that half the time I try to explain what I do as quantum medicine, and half the time what I explain myself as integrative medicine, which is, integrative medicine deals with things like functional medicine, homeopathy, and that sort of thing. Quantum medicine deals working with frequencies, microcurrent, etc. So when I saw the title to this book, I said, well, that's perfect because it encapsulates everything I do. And I can just say quantum integrative medicine, and it takes the whole realm of the stuff that I've been doing for the last 46 years. So that's basically what it is.
Now, 46 years, you've been doing this a lot. I actually found out a really interesting fact about you. You're actually 72 years old.
I will be 72 on my.
You look like you're in your 50s.
Well, yeah, I mean, patients say that all the time. Anti-aging medicine is one of the things that I've been a big proponent of for, many, many years. I started focusing on that in the 90s before there was even a term to that. I tend to be, what I found in my life and my practice since the 70s is I always tend to be about 10 to 15 years ahead of the pack, so to speak. I get involved in things that no one else is doing. And then, 10 years later, everyone is kind of catching up to what I've been doing before. I was doing preventive medicine in the 70s, and nobody was doing preventive medicine in the 70s. And then everyone started catching up, and then I moved on to functional medicine, and nobody was doing functional medicine. And I went to anti-aging medicine, nobody was doing it. Finally, I got into the whole quantum medicine frequency space, which I've been doing for a number of years now. And the good news is people are catching up because it's something that I really feel is the new form of medicine. I mean, we're in a paradigm shift right now in medicine, at least I believe it to be, and that for the last about 100 years, most people have been focusing on the body as a biochemical system. And that all happened, as people probably know, or maybe they didn't know. But it's really interesting to look at the history of medicine in the United States over the past, say, 100 years or so, because up until 1930, all physicians in the US practiced homeopathic medicine. And it wasn't until 1930 when David Rockefeller went to Germany, connected with Bayer Pharmaceuticals, and decided, because he was an oil man, that there were other ways of using petroleum products to create pharmaceuticals, that he came back to the US and basically went to all the medical schools and said, hey, if you stop practicing and teaching homeopathy and instead start to use some of these patent medicines that I am bringing back from Germany, I'll fund your school's research. And at that time, I think he was talking in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, but in today's money, it would be in the millions of dollars. And of course, what did the medical schools do? But they basically jumped aboard and they threw out homeopathy, and they started to utilize, what I call prescription medicine right now, because primarily what happens, as we all know, is you go to your internist, your family doctor, etc. They have you there for 15 minutes. They want to know what your symptoms are, basically what's going on, and basically write out a prescription for a medication and tell you one or two things. If it doesn't work, come back and we'll try something else. And number two, if it does work, you'll probably have to be on it for the rest of your life, which is unfortunately what happens, especially with medications that are being given out like candy these days. For example, things like statin drugs for people that have high cholesterol. I mean, most people that are, say, 45, 50 years and older are on a statin drug because of elevated cholesterol levels. But I can do the exact same thing in my practice, lowering cholesterol without using any medication, just by working with a patient to look at their diet and then recommending various supplements. And I frequently have people come in to see me because they don't want to be on a medication like a statin medication because of the side effects. And one of the most horrible side effects of statin medications is memory loss or dementia. I actually had a patient come to see me a while back. He was in his 50s. He came in with his wife, and I asked him, why are you here? And she said, because my husband has early Alzheimer's disease. And he was, I think, 54 years old. And I said, first thing I said is, what medications are you on? And she said, statin drugs. And I said, oh, I knew that because that's one of the side effects of statins. So, the bottom line is that medicine is really these days run by the pharmaceutical industry, and all they're looking to do is to create what I call chronic patients. Because if somebody has high cholesterol, instead of teaching them how to do things in their lifestyle to modify that and to recommend various supplements, they just tell a person, well, you need to be on this for the rest of your life. Same thing with the other kind of epidemic right now in medicine is the situation where so many people above 50 are becoming type 2 diabetics. Same situation, giving them metformin and saying, well, you're going to need to be on this for the rest of your life, creating a chronic patient. When in fact, just with dietary manipulation and the proper supplementation, you can reverse that condition in a matter of, in most cases, 4 to 6 weeks. In my practice, patients no longer hold those particular conditions. And so this all happened 100 years ago is what I'm trying to bring up, because prior to that, as I said, not only were all doctors practicing in the United States homeopaths, but we have to go really all the way back to really see the history of medicine. And I like to go all the way back, like 5,000 years ago, to China, where acupuncture was being practiced. And as you know, it's still being practiced exactly the same today, with very little change. Why? Because it works and it's effective, but also the Chinese were smart because they knew that the body was electrical and they needed to do something to change the electrical current in the body. And one of the things they found is when they put a needle in an acupuncture point, they can unblock the flow of energy to the various organs in the body. And so that to me was really the beginning of what I call frequency medicine. And then, of course, when we get to the 1700s, we have homeopathy becomes popular. And again, it's an energetic medication, because if you know how homeopathy is made, you'll realize that there's no real substance in the pellets that you take. As a matter of fact, one of the reasons traditional medicine says that homeopathy doesn't work is because they can never find anything when they analyze the pellets. And the reason being is that it's the energetic imprint or signature of the particular remedy that you're using when you take a homeopathic remedy. And again, another energy type of a situation. So people that are even skeptical and say, well, I still don't believe that the body is electrical. I say to them, well, what happens when you go to your cardiologist and get an EKG and they record, on the graph, your EKG, or you go to a neurologist and they do an EEG and you see all the brain waves. I mean, if the body wasn't emitting electrical signals, there's be no way that we'd be able to pick up those kinds of frequencies from the body. So because of the fact that I really am so, believed, it's beyond belief. It's my practice. It's been my practice for the last 20 years in this field, is because I've seen the amazing results that occur in all types of imbalances, diseases, chronic conditions by using frequency medicine, whereas regular traditional pharmaceutical medicine does not work at all. And so I really believe we're in this new paradigm shift. And the thing that has me so excited is the advent of the Healy 4 years ago. For those who don't know what that is, it is a small portable frequency microcurrent device that was developed in Germany from a larger professional device that had been used for about 15 years by German MDs. And it delivers both microcurrent and frequency. And, I always had a dream that over the last 20 years that I would actually have something that I could offer to a patient after they left my office to be able to continue the work that I was doing in my office. Because when somebody comes in and I work with them and I do some balancing protocols on them to balance various meridians, organs, etc., they leave my office and sometimes they won't come back necessarily for 4 to 6 weeks for a follow-up. But what happens during that period of time? Because for me, healing is a process. It's not an event. It's not just a one-up sort of a situation where you go to somebody, you have some sort of a balancing, and then that's it, because it doesn't hold. But if you do something on a regular daily basis, then you will start to get some results. So there was no such thing that I was aware of. And literally, I tend to do a lot of work with, I've been a meditator since the 70s. I also work with a lot in the field of manifestation over the years. And so one day I literally, sat down and said, there has to be a device. Somebody has to come up with a device like this because the time has come. And I really have a need for it in my practice. And I basically did a manifestation meditation. I put down all of the things that I thought would be the types of things I'd like to see in a portable frequency device. I actually even said in my manifestation that it was German. And the thing when you're doing any kind of manifestation work or you're doing any kind of intention work, patients will come in sometimes and say, I'm really looking for a relationship. I can't find that person. And I say, I have some homework for you. And I said, what is the homework? I said, I want you to go home and on a pad of paper, I want you to write down 100 qualities of what you're looking for in that potential mate. And I want you to be really, really specific, even if it matters what color eyes they have, how tall they are, how much money they make. I don't care what it is, but whatever it is for you that you're looking for, be as specific as possible and write it down, because that person is out there in the universe. And once you actually put it on paper, that's when you will connect with that person. Well, that was the same thing I did with this device. I put down everything I thought would be great to have in a device. Like I said, I even said German made. And literally 7 days after I did that, I was on the internet one night. This was 4 years ago. This was in October of 2019. This page popped up in German. Don't read German. I put it through Google Translate. And it was a guy talking about this new portable frequency microcurrent device. And I was like, oh my God, this is what I've been looking for. And I didn't even have a way of connecting or contacting with this guy because it just had his name and a little picture in the corner. So I obviously did some searching on the internet and I found him. I wrote him a note, told him who I was, told him that I was interested in this and I would like to be the person to bring this into the United States if it was as good as he said it was. And so the next day we had about a 2.5-hour conversation on the phone. And he said, we're just getting ready in the next 6 months to bring this device into the US, and you're the perfect guy based on your background and your experience. I said, send me the device and let me check it out. And if it's as good as you say it is, I will definitely be interested in bringing it forward. So they sent me the device, and I had been in a really bad accident in the early 90s here in Philadelphia, in Los Angeles. I said Philly because that's where I had come from. I was hit by a truck in my sports car, and I was almost killed on contact. And I went through, 6 months of rehab and all sorts of things. But it kind of left me with a an issue that, even though I have all the technology to deal with it, and I've gone, to chiropractors and acupuncturists, etc., I still hadn't gotten into a place where it was resolved enough for me. And that was I had severe neuropathy in my right foot from this injury. And it was becoming a problem in the last couple of years, whereby I wasn't able to drive my car anymore because I was having some issues with proprioception. In other words, I couldn't go from the gas pedal to the brake really quickly. I had to almost force my mind to do it. And I got worried, and I almost got into 4 major accidents. Almost drove over when I was parking my car in a car park garage. I almost went over the side and said, look, I almost killed myself one time in a car accident. I'm not going to let it happen again. So I stopped driving at that point and just relied on Ubers and Lyfts and friends. And so I said to myself, well, they say that this device can pretty much resolve anything. Let me see if it can resolve my issues. So even without any training, because I was the first person to receive this device into the US, intuitively, I started running some of the programs for nerve and nerve balancing because I knew it's neurological in type of a problem. And literally 5 days later, I woke up and I knew things had changed profoundly. Because when you have severe neuropathy, and so many people out there are suffering from neuropathy these days from so many different types of conditions, not just accidents or injuries, but situations where they've had diabetes, or they've had side effects from medication or chemotherapy or whatever. But a lot of people wind up having neuropathy. And for me, it's always been that I have a house, a big house that has both wooden, tiled, and carpeted floors. And I could never go on my tiled or wooden floors without having shoes or something on, because it's like, you have neuropathy, it's like walking over a bed of nails. And when I woke up that morning and I got up, first of all, the first thing that I usually notice when I had neuropathy is that my attention is drawn to my feet because they are uncomfortable. But not only that, usually I jump in and out of a shower within like a minute or so because it's painful to stand on a tile floor. Well, not only did I not get the feeling of anything happening in my feet when I woke up, but I went into the bathroom to shower that day. I was like, oh my God, this is like, I was there for 15, 20 minutes enjoying the shower, and my feet were totally, normal. And then I put it to the ultimate test that weekend. I asked a friend if he'd be willing to drive with me in the passenger seat, because chances were, based on prior situation, I'd have to pull right over because I couldn't go from the brake to the gas. He said, sure. We went to breakfast. I drove home. Everything was great. And I said to myself, you know what? I have to get this information out there to the world, because if this was able to do this for me in such a short period of time, I can only imagine the benefits it's going to have for people out there with all sorts of conditions. And sure enough, I brought forward the Healy into the United States in March of 2020, right during the pandemic, is when we introduced Healy into the US. And it was so funny because, in a way, it was really the perfect timing, because so many people were home and they had issues, but they weren't able to even see their local, their current practitioners, because many practitioners weren't even seeing patients in person in those days. So that's where that whole self-care is the new healthcare piece came into my head, because if we don't have a way of treating ourselves, what do we do when we're in a situation like a pandemic where we can't go out and see a practitioner for help? We have to have a way of being able to heal ourselves. And to me, the Healy is the absolute perfect tool, because it is able to work body, mind, spirit, literally mental, physical, emotional levels. And it's a unique device, more unique than any of the other frequency devices I had ever seen out there, in that it contains what's called a quantum sensor. And this quantum sensor allows us to scan ourselves and find out exactly which frequencies our body needs at any moment in time. And that makes it so unique, because if you look back at some of the frequency devices that are on the market these days, one of them that comes to mind is like the Rife devices that started out in the 30s, actually. It's more of a cookbook approach. In other words, you dial in a specific frequency for a specific condition, and every single person that uses that device dials that same frequency in if they have that condition, and they use that same frequency every single day, regardless of what's happening to their body. The Healy, however, is more of a dynamic frequency device, in that it literally chooses those frequencies that you need for that particular condition at that moment in time. Therefore, you could have a dozen people in a room, for example, that all had a headache, that were treating themselves with their Healy. And when you went around and looked to see, you'd find that even though they're all running the headache program, which contains about 500 different frequencies, every one of those people were being treated by a different frequency in that group. Why? Because their body needed that specific frequency. And when I started out in medicine in the 70s, it was always in the whole field of what I call biochemical individuality. So when I was doing, the functional medicine approach, and I was creating programs for patients, I always would say to people, irregardless of your condition, when you come to see me, your protocol and your program is going to be unique to you. In other words, I can have 10 patients in my practice that are all have, elevated blood sugar. And when they walk out of my office, if you look at the protocol I've given them, both diet and supplementation, it's different for each one, because the underlying cause of one's condition or disease is always unique to that person. And therefore, if you really want to get great results with any technology or anything you're doing, it has to be very specific and very individualized. And the Healy is able to do that. It's able to individualize the treatment to specifically what the person needs. And so when I saw that, it was like, wow, finally we have something out there that is available to the masses, affordable, and also does all of the types of things that you would ever want to do with this type of a device. And now I think the company has sold somewhere in the vicinity of 750,000 devices out there over the last 4 years that it's been available. And I tend to speak to people that use the device, and also I do a lot of lecturing around the country. And the stories that I hear of people that have used the Healy for every condition imaginable, it's just really exciting for me to know that that I was responsible for helping to bring this technology into the U.S. and make it available to everyone.
Wow, that's so inspiring to hear your story. And yeah, I feel like you deserve to feel a healthy sense of pride for the work that you've done. Um, I'm curious, in your work, you're working with these alternative modalities. Do you ever come up against people being like, oh no, that's not real, that's a scam, this is pseudoscience? Like what do you say when you meet those people?
Well, I don't meet those people, and I'll tell you
Oh,
why. And that's really great, because I talk about that a lot in my practice. I'm a referral doc. So what I mean by that is that somebody can't just find me that's off the street on the internet, et cetera, and come in as a patient of mine. And the reason that is exactly what you're talking about right now. Because when I was available, when I had I advertised, or I had, an online presence, I'd just get random people coming in. And what I found is that, 45 minutes of the visit that I was working with them, they're asking me exactly that, almost like prove it to me kind of thing. And I sat there saying to myself, wait a second, I've been doing this for over 40 years. I have amazing results in my practice. I don't need to prove myself to anybody. So I said, the simple solution, make myself a referral doc only. In other words, not making myself available just to the average person on the street, but somebody could come to me only if they were referred one of two ways, either by a patient that had already seen me, or another doctor in town that knows the work that I do. And once I switched over to doing that, I've never had that question or that situation arise anymore because patients come to me, they're motivated because they already know a friend, coworker, family member that's been through my program and has gotten such amazing results that they're coming to me for that, and they trust because they've already been in contact with somebody that's been to see me and has gotten really great results. So I no longer deal with that, Erica, because I don't allow it to happen.
I love it. I love it. This, you got nothing to prove. You're not here to convince anyone. You're just here to share and do your work in the world and support and just spread this technology that's already helping so many people. That's super inspiring. I do see a question in the comments from my friend Linda. She's asking, so what do you do if someone has a pacemaker or a defibrillator? Can they still use frequency technology?
They can absolutely use frequency technology. They can't use microcurrent technology.
Ah,
So the Healy, delivers frequencies in a number of different ways. It can use microcurrent, and we are hooked up to like wristbands or sticky pads and things that can bring that in. But we can also use what's called the Healy coil, which is a Tesla coil. And basically, it's putting out what are called scalar waves. And with that type of frequencies, you don't need to be worried or concerned about somebody that has a pacemaker or a defibrillator because you're not delivering any kind of an electrical signal into that person's body that could disrupt those types of devices. So that's safe.
and is that also same for the Mag Healy, which I know uses magnetic frequencies?
Right. Again, as long as it's not an electrical signal that's going into the body directly, you're okay. You're not going to interrupt the electrical signal of the pacemaker or the defibrillator.
Awesome. Thank you. I also saw another question from my friend Tammy. She's asking, is this similar to light therapy? So how does frequency compare to these other kinds of therapies?
Well, I mean, when you talk frequency, we're talking the whole spectrum of frequencies, and the spectrum of frequencies incorporates light, incorporates sound, incorporates, everything, in that realm. So light frequency is a technology that people use, sound therapy and sound frequencies. Some people use, I mean, there are all types of frequency devices out there. I just feel that for me, the microcurrent was what I like to call the secret sauce because I've been doing frequency therapy with patients for many, many, many years because I didn't have a device that had the microcurrent capability in it. And so once I added the microcurrent part to the frequency part, I realized how much more powerful it was. And the way I like to look at it is like the microcurrent is like the gas in the tank of a car, and the frequency is like the driver in the car that directs it into the location of the body where it needs to go. So yeah, microcurrent tends to make the experience much more powerful. And at least that's the way I have found it, and it seems to have followed through with people using it. So when people have a Healy, I usually tell them, you have specifically a physical condition that you're trying to deal with, then by all means, use the microcurrent. And if you're dealing with something more in the mental, emotional, spiritual realm, then you can use the coil or just send frequencies from the device directly into the information field, which is the terminology that Healy likes to use. It's a quantum physics terminology. It's the place, some know it as the Akashic field, the etheric field. It's the place where everything is connected in the world. Everything is connected in that one place and communicates from that one place. So again, we have all types of ways of delivering the frequencies in our body. And as long as you don't have a particular condition like pacemaker or defibrillator, you're able to use microcurrent.
Nice. Thank you so much for answering that question. I see another question here in the comments. Is the Healy similar to the EES system?
Uh, well, that system, as far as I know, pretty much delivers scalar waves. So it's just a constant, scalar waves being delivered. And again, the uniqueness of the Healy is the microcurrent part. Like I said, there are many, many, many devices out there. There's PEMF devices, post electric magnetic field devices. There are Rife devices. There are other types of scalar devices, but there are very few frequency microcurrent devices that are out there. And that's what I think makes the Healy so unique in terms of its ability.
So yeah, I'm hearing about the microcurrent is what makes it unique. Also the ability to use the scalar waves. And then also the quantum sensor that allows for that reading to happen. So
Right,
it
because most of the other frequency devices out there are more of a treatment-based device, majority of them, whereas Healy is both a treatment and a scanning device. So it not only delivers the frequencies, but it also has a way of scanning the body to determine exactly what the person needs. And I like having that twofold. It puts it more in the range of the professional devices that most doctors have in their offices. But our professional devices run in the range of $30,000-$40,000, and you have to be trained. Whereas the Healy is a fraction of that cost, and is something that anyone can pick up and in a matter of an hour or so figure it out and learn to be able to do it on their own. So it's very user friendly for lay people.
that's how I like to think about it. Thank you for sharing that. It's kind of like the personal computer, the way that computers originally were very big. They took up a lot of energy and space in universities, and then now the personal computer is, what we're chatting on right now. So it's that evolution in technology. I see another question from my friend Melissa. She's asking if you have seen it support heart issues like AFib.
Yeah, I mean, as a matter of fact, and that brings up a point here, which allows me to sort of plug something here. As a time waver practitioner, the time waver is referred to as the father of the Healy or the mother of the Healy, in that it was the device that's been used for the last 15 years using that same microcurrent frequency technology, only it's a much larger form. It's much more expanded. But what that does is it allows me as a time waver practitioner to create a specific program for any particular health condition that a person has, and then deliver it to a person's Healy through the cloud. So I can create, a program for AFib. I can create a program for Parkinson's disease, for Lyme disease, you name it. I'm able to create it on the time waver, and then having that particular frequency program for that condition, then sending it to the person and having them run that program specifically every day is much more powerful than, for example, just running a Healy, randomly and getting, what frequencies are. Because you can just imagine if you're dealing with a condition and the only frequencies that are being sent to you are the ones specifically for that condition, it's going to be a much more powerful result that you have. And again, that's something that I love doing, because it really is where it takes me back to the 46 years of practice, and that what I do for patients, either through my devices or when people in the functional medicine realm bring in lab tests, I'm able to create very personalized programs for them to address their unique situation. And the results are amazing. I can do the same thing now with people using frequency devices by use of the time waver in terms of creating an individual program. If there's anyone out there that's a Healy user and is interested in a custom program, they can contact me at healydocsteve@gmail.com. I'll be more than happy to send them information on how to do that.
I think that's amazing that you're so open to sharing your email address. I mean, that's how I got in contact with you. And I love how, yeah, you're really in service to the people. Like you really want to serve and share this and support. And I really see you as being such a major player in shifting this paradigm of wellness. Now, I did see one question again from Linda. She says she's the one with the pacemaker, and she says she's been looking at the scalar waves. She's asking, well, this is be easy to answer. Is this Healy scalar wearable? Yes. So Linda, just this coil right here is the add-on.
Hold that up if you wouldn't mind,
Yeah.
so people can see it, because basically you know, if the whole, I always start out when I teach, I always, the first slide is always the famous Nikola Tesla slide, that if you want to understand the secrets of the universe, think in terms of frequency, energy, and vibration. Well, that's an actual, Tesla is the father of a lot of this technology. And if you hold that up, you can actually see, if you hold it correctly to the light, you'll see that there are two Tesla coils. They're about 180 degrees offset as the circle part on there. And that is what delivers the scalar waves when it's plugged into the Healy itself.
Wow. She also asks, can the Healy do remote healing? Do you ever do
Yes,
remote
of
healing?
course. Yeah, I do it frequently. I mean, that's one of the other benefits of having a Healy, is that you can do remote work. And, again, that was always something that people would always ask me to prove, okay, is how can you treat remotely? Well, good news is that I have such a really great answer these days, because last year in 2022, the Nobel Prize in Physics was given to two physicists for the proof of what's called quantum entanglement, which is when two objects are associated and they're put away, at a distance far away from one another, they still react. So when you do something to one of those particles, the other particle automatically reacts. So the same thing happens in our Healy. When we want to do a remote session on a patient, we need information of the person that we're trying to send those frequencies to. And things like your photograph, your date of birth and place of birth, your name, all of those things are unique locators in the universe, in the information field where everything is. And so once you have that information plugged into that Healy, you can then directly connect with that particular person. And you can do the same thing that you do with yourself. You can either scan them to find out what it is they need, or you can send them frequencies directly. The only thing you can't do in remote is microcurrent, obviously, because you have to actually send the current into the body, but you can send the frequencies to people anywhere on the planet, and it works really, really well.
Wow, I think that's amazing. And it really speaks to this, it's shifting, like we're shifting the paradigm. We're shifting our understandings and the agreements that we kind of have made around health and wellness. And we're really stepping into something new. And I know that's why I'm really excited about this. I know so many people who are suffering, suffering from different conditions. And I love that this could be something that could support them.
Oh, it absolutely supports them. And it's a lot of the reason why this is available now is just the whole concept of quantum physics. Quantum physics is a newer science, and it's been, popular now for the last 10, 15 years. And people are starting to understand those concepts. And science is looking, like I said, with the whole concept of quantum entanglement, which was, last year proven. I mean, that's now being able to answer the questions of people saying, like, how can that be possible? Quantum medicine, quantum physics is now addressing all of those kinds of things that people kind of felt were not possible because they didn't know how to, they couldn't understand the concept of being able to figure that out. So the more quantum physics keeps unraveling, I think we're coming up with even bigger and better types of devices. I mean, when I start looking at some of the newest research in quantum physics, they're talking now about, biolocation. In other words, how we used to see those science fiction movies, even Star Trek, where they would have, beam me up, Scotty, where they would have the person dematerialize and then materialize in another location. They've actually, from what I've read, have almost perfected that technology using quantum physics, so that we will be able ultimately, maybe not in my lifetime, but ultimately travel to other places within a matter of seconds by using those concepts. So there's a lot of exciting things to come down the pike. But yeah, the old style medicine that's been practiced for the last 100 years has to go, because it really is not healing people. Like I said, it's creating chronic patients, and it's also, it goes against the principles of Hippocrates, the father of medicine, who said, heal but do no harm. But every pharmaceutical medicine that you might take, if you look it up in the PDR, which is the physician's desk reference, you'll see the side effects of those medications. So you're actually doing harm when you take medication. And I cannot begin to tell you that there are people that come into my office that are, they bring in, bottlefuls of prescription medications that they're on at, all at the same time, and so you can imagine the side effects from one. But I spoke to a pharmacist and they said that they have when they look to make sure that there's no interactions between medications, their algorithm that they use can only find five, you can only input 5 different medications. But I have patients that come in sometimes that have 8 or 10 medications they're on, and they don't even know what the interactions or side effects are happening with all that medication. So it's really, the time for us to kind of return to the way it's been for thousands of years and really work on the way our bodies were meant to be worked on, which is the fact that our cells are mini batteries. And if you don't recharge those batteries on a regular basis, you start to get a disease and you start to then, ultimately you die. And usually I show a chart when I'm teaching, and the chart is a chart of what's called the cell membrane potential, which is the membrane that surrounds the cells. And usually it's at a level of about negative 70 millivolts. And that keeps those cells in a young, healthy state. But as we're exposed to toxins in our environment and the foods we eat and everything else out there, that cell voltage begins to drop. And when it starts to drop, one of the first things we experience is inflammation in the body. And then we get edema, and then we get cancer. And then when it gets to zero, of course, we're no longer here. And you can reverse it easily by just recharging your body on a daily basis. I mean, the crazy thing these days is that everybody I know plugs their cell phones in at night before they go to bed to make sure when they wake up in the morning, their cell phone is recharged at 100%. But what do we do to our bodies to recharge the cells of our bodies on a daily basis? And the answer is nothing, unless you're actually using a device that introduces microcurrent into your body on a regular basis to recharge your cells to that negative 70 millivolts. You're dying every day in a way. You're draining your batteries every day. And they say that the difference between an elite athlete and somebody that's on their deathbed, all it is the amount of voltage that that person has in their body. That's the only difference between those two people. So it's really important for people to recharge the cells of their body every single day with some form of electrical voltage, electrical current. And the Healy is the perfect tool to do it because it delivers the proper amount of microcurrent into your body. And I always say that the Healy is the ultimate anti-aging device because it brings the cells back to that level of newness. And at the same time, we have frequencies, we have the stem cell frequencies in the bioenergetic vitalization program. You combine the stem cell frequencies with the microcurrent and you have the ultimate anti-aging device. I mean, people spend 30 grand and go to Mexico or Switzerland and get stem cell injections, only having to return 3 months later to repeat that process. We, in the palm of our hand, have the ability to do the same thing with a device that's very inexpensive.
And yeah, thank you for sharing all that. I'm so glad that you touched on that. And I think you're a testament. I mean, you're 72 years old and
I use it every day. I use the Healy every single day.
And you're so energized. I mean, and I really appreciate all the time that you've shared with us today. I'm glad that you touched on inflammation because I know that a lot of people are concerned about that. So if people want to learn,
let me just jump in one second because I want to tag onto that because it's something really important that I found in my own capabilities of research. So I have a device in my office that's actually able to numerically give you a number of how much both physical and emotional mental stress you're in. And I test every single patient that comes in because it's important for me to know that information. And I've been doing it for the last 20 plus years. And so what I have found is about 20% of people that come into me on their first visit have a high level of either physical or mental emotional stress that's impacting their system. And usually what that means is that they're creating inflammation of the body. But post-COVID, the crazy thing is that all patients coming into my office we're now measuring 85% in terms of physical and mental emotional stress. And what do you think the single factor is that causes inflammation in the body? It is stress. So if you're not dealing with the stress, then you can't really, change the system. And one of the things I love about the Healy is that the Healy has a specific program in the Healy itself to stimulate the vagus nerve. And the vagus nerve, for those who don't know it, is the largest nerve in the body that puts the body into a parasympathetic state. So we have the sympathetic and the parasympathetic. Sympathetic, as you probably remember from science class, is fight or flight. Okay. Parasympathetic is rest and digest, or rest and relax and digest. So when you put your body into that parasympathetic state, you eliminate the stress in your body. And so that's something that I always recommend people that have Healys that feel that there's a lot of inflammation in their system, that sometime in the evening they run the program for stimulating the vagus nerve, which in the Healy is called the bed rest program. And it's great to be able to turn off that stress response.
I love that. I'm still pretty new to using my Healy.
Uh-huh.
I got it a month ago, but I live in Guatemala, so I had to wait for it to arrive. And so I've just been doing all this research in the meantime. So I've been so excited, and I'm still learning about all the programs. I'm actually really excited to get the Goddess program that you have created. I've heard nothing but rave reviews about it.
Yeah, I was asked by the community. There's a person named Taryn Lee Harrington that was very much involved with Healy at the top. And she once said to me, we got together, she visited me here. She was living in Bali at the time, came to LA and said, do you think you could create a goddess program? Because I think women would really, really love that. And I said to her, well, let me do some research on that and see what I can do. And I went into the Time Waver and some other books and esoteric material, and I put together all sorts of frequencies to support the divine feminine in all areas. And I'll tell you something, it's my most popular program. And the responses I get from people, women that have it, are just off the charts. I mean, I've heard stories where people that have wanted to be in relationships but seem to have never been able to do it, they'll tell me that by running that the goddess program, they'll go out and they'll just have men, being attracted to them all over the place. Because it's one of the things I put in there was that for that reason. And I also have a lot of the female hormone balancing aspects of that in there too. So it's a really great program. And like I said, my most popular one. And it's more of a program that anybody can, purchase. And it's not for a specific health condition, but it's to support the divine feminine and all aspects of that in all levels, mental, physically, emotionally, mentally, hormonally, etc.
Oh my God, I'm definitely going to be following up with you after this interview. I know you got to get going. I think you have a
I
patient.
do have a patient probably in the next 3 minutes coming in. It's happens to be a very well-known singer here in LA.
Ooh.
Won't mention any names,
Ah,
but I can already tell because my dog, who you're hearing in the background, is my therapy dog in the office. Um, and once he starts to bark, it usually means that somebody's coming in the gates to come into my office here. So I do have to jump off, but it's been a pleasure being with you, Erica, and I hope I've put out some information to people that they haven't heard before, and maybe they will be open and aware to maybe take a look at the healing, because I know that you will absolutely not be disappointed if you get one.
thank you so much, Doc Steve. I really appreciate your time here. I know that you're very in high demand, so thank you so much for coming on and speaking to us and just spreading this knowledge, this wisdom, and this energy out into the world when we need it the most. So
Thank you
thank you
for
so
having me.
much.
It's been
Yeah,
my pleasure, Erica.
and you're welcome to just hop off the Zoom, and I'll just stay on and just talk to people
Okay.
and
All
share your
right.
email address and just wrap
Thanks
things up.
again,
So thank
everyone.
you, and have an
All
amazing
right.
day.
If and
I
again, if
will.
you need any specific health programs, just contact me.
They need
Yeah,
the Healy first, and then they can contact you to get the
that's right.
program in the Healy.
Absolutely.
So I'll
All right.
talk a little bit more about that.
You got it.
All
Okay.
right. Thank
Take care,
you.
everyone. Have
Bye.
a great day.
All right, guys. So if you're still watching, wow, what an amazing guest. I am so thrilled that we got to experience the wisdom, the experience, the knowledge. Because we're muted. That's why there's no sound, guys. Thank you. Hey. Um, yeah, so I'm so glad you guys got to meet Doc Steve. I've been watching his interviews online as I was just sharing on mute. I got my Healy about a month ago, but because I live in Guatemala, I was waiting for it to arrive. And so I've just been doing all this research and just going down this fascinating rabbit hole of frequency technology and how it can support us. So wow, I'm I feel really moved. I feel really impacted by what he shared. I really love hearing how he's working with so many different people. And he shared some things with me before our interview that that were even more impressive, but he can't put it all on the internet, right? Like it's really powerful stuff. So if you're interested in learning more, and Tanya, I see your question. Can two people share a Healy? Yeah, you can share a Healy. You can absolutely share a Healy. I mean, I was borrowing Jenna's Healy for while I was trying hers out. I was getting a feel for it. I was seeing how it felt in my body. You know, I was doing my research online. I was reading all the things. I was taking my time. Um, and so I was borrowing hers. In fact, I feel like I started getting a little bit annoying to her. He was like, hey Jenna, do you mind if I run a program? Um, and that was it. Just got to the point. I can't wait for mine to come because I don't want to just keep borrowing Jenna's. So you can get one device, you can share it. You're probably you might get to the point where you don't want to share it because you just want to have it with you. I love that this is something that I have with me at all times. It's like a little best friend who knows me and calls me out on something I need to take a look at. I think it works a really well complement to other modalities and other things. It's not like the end all, but I liked what Doc Steve said about how it's never been more important for us to have something at home that we can use if we can't get to the doctor, if we can't get out. Um, so Andrews, the takeaway anxiety. Yeah, so there are programs for mental health, emotional health, um, there's programs for everything. And in fact, another video I want to do is actually I want to do a demo where I've actually been running a program this whole time. So this is what it looks like. I'm running on my mag Healy right now. So the mag Healy is the one that puts frequencies out into the environment. So I was running a frequency this whole time during this interview. Before the interview, another thing you can do with this one is you can put it on top of your water and you can put your frequencies in your water. So I was actually running a vagus nerve frequency into my water, and that was the water I was drinking during the interview. I would say one of the biggest impacts that I've noticed about the Healy since I got it and have been using it this week is my sleep. I'm so grateful. I was really struggling to sleep. This is also part of why I was so exhausted when I was going to Casa Curativa because I was just not sleeping well. And this has been something that's been happening more and more for me. I have a hard time falling asleep and then I wake up 3 to 4 times during the night. So I'm not really spending that much time in deep sleep. Since I've been using this, I have not woken up once during the night. I wake up early without an alarm clock. I feel energized. Like this was a really big thing for me. So, when you talk about anxiety and depression and these different stressors, it's like, okay, are you sleeping? Right. And I liked what Doc Steve also said, like, we got to take a look at a person's diet. We got to take a look at a person's lifestyle. It's not just one thing is gonna fix everything. There's an integrated approach to how we're living our lives, and we're only as good as our tools, right? So So these are now tools that I decided to jump in. I decided to go all in and invest in them. I got a payment plan. Like I decided to say yes, and figure out, okay, how can I make this work? I'm glad that I still had some credit left. I got a PayPal credit, and so I'm going to pay it off over time because I believed, I really saw what I was seeing and I liked it. So here's the thing. If you want to learn more, I would love to open up a conversation with you. There's a lot to share, and I would love to guide you in this process. So if you're interested in learning more, just send a message to my Facebook page. Just write the word frequency. And when you do, I'm going to respond. I want to hear what's going on for you. And I'm going to guide you. I want to guide you to the Facebook page. I have some videos I can share with you. I really want to help educate you so you can make the best decision for yourself. I don't think that anyone should just go in blindly. Like, I want you to do your research. I want you to see what's happening out there in this new paradigm of health and well-being. I love what he said. Self-care is the new healthcare. That's such a great motto. I may adopt that. So anyways, I got to wrap this up. As you can see, I'm very excited. Tanya, we talked about the EES system in the interview. I think if I can recall, he said what makes this different is the microcurrent that goes directly into your body, and also the quantum sensor that is reading you. So it's able to read your system and give you suggestions about areas that you need to look at, and then it offers programs. And there are 200. So the different models, all of the hardware is the same. There's the gold, the holistic, the resonance plus, and the professional. I got the professional. That's what Jenna had. I liked what she had. I liked all the features that it could do, all the things it could do. It comes with all of the programs. There are 220 programs in the professional that include 144,000 frequencies. They include the Rife frequency. So people often ask, what's the difference between a Rife machine? This includes Rife frequencies in it, which is pretty cool. So you can add on programs. Like if you get one of like the base models, but you want a specific program, you can add it on. You can buy it, or you can get a subscription. I personally didn't want any subscriptions, so I just got the full one. So anyways, I gotta go. I love you guys. I hope that this was useful. I'm really excited and passionate about this technology. I really feel called to share this with others who benefit from it. I would love to help support you to be educated and to be guided into this world. It's a deep, wide, wonderful rabbit hole with so much possibility. And I'd love to be there with you for the journey if you want my support. So just send me a message, just say frequency, and I will respond to you, and we will have a conversation. And I'll share with you the link to the current sales. Right now there's a 60% off sale on this, which is pretty amazing. I wish I had gotten in on a 60% off sale. I didn't, but I did get on a great sale to get both of these. So I'm happy about that. And I'm more than anything, I'm just happy for you guys that you have this opportunity and we're in this portal now together. So, all right, guys, thank you so much. I will see you soon. And I hope that this is something that can be supportive for you on your journey. Okay, love you. Yeah. Oh, wait, no, that's recording stop. And we